Okay, this is going to be a quick demonstration video of how to selectively add blur and selectively sharpen areas of an image. I'm going to start by launching my photo into Photoshop. This was a picture by one of my students. I felt like it was shot with a little too great depth of field. The subject really blends into the trees in the background, and so we're going to apply a blur to hopefully help your subject stand out from the background a little bit. Really, there's no way in Photoshop to fix something that was done incorrectly, but we can make it look a little better, I think. So we're going to begin the process by making a copy of the background. We'll just go ahead and name the copy blur. That way we don't confuse them. We're going to make a layer mask, apply that to the blur layer. I'm going to click back. You'll notice as I click on these thumbnails, they activate. I want the photo on the blur layer to be active. And I'm going to go up under Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to add blur to this image. You don't want to go crazy. If we just blur it completely, when we clear off the subject, the blur away from the subject, she's going to stand out. It's going to look a little odd. We don't want it to look too artificial. And if we do it well enough, nobody really needs to know. I think that's about right for this image. Not too much. Click OK. Then I'm going to click on my layer mask. You'll see that it's active. I need black as my foreground color, and I need to use my brush tool. And I'm just going to paint over the subject and remove the blur from this area. I want to release the mouse, and you can see that now this area has this see-through portion so that the bottom layer, the background layer, is actually allowed to show through. You can use opacity here to control some of that as well, but we're going to leave it at 100%. And I'm going to do this quickly. Really, you should take a little bit more care with how you selectively apply the blur and how you remove it. A smaller brush would be a good place to start, but we're just doing this for demonstration purposes, so I don't mind moving a little bit faster than I would if maybe somebody were paying me to make this portrait look a little bit better. Alright, so there we've removed the blur from her pretty well. Again, smaller brush would allow you to get up closer to the edge, really do a little bit better job, and you can see over here now what essentially looks like her silhouette. So that's pretty nice. That actually, the background's not quite so obnoxious. I'm not jumping out quite as much. You can see here that I got a little bit too far, and you can see where I touched up this picture, but like I said, for demonstration purposes, this will be okay. Now if I wanted to go back and add sharpening, because really she probably needs to be sharpened a little bit, I go to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask, and you can see that I selected the background again. And believe it or not, despite this crazy face, the subject liked this picture. So dial in your sharpening amount. You can watch what's happening here in the preview window. You can go up to about 200%. Let's stay down here maybe at 180. You want to keep radius and threshold fairly low. And you can see the difference between just the slightest changes. Alright, I think that's okay. So there you go. Blurred the background, sharpened the subject. If you wanted, you could go back. If you wanted to soften the effect, maybe make it look a little bit more natural in the blur, you could go back again, painting with black. But change the opacity now down to maybe, let's see what 40% looks like. And use a much larger brush. And now we can remove some of the blur around an area here, and it might look better. Command Z it and we'll compare them. 40% is probably a little too much. Let's go down. Let's just take out 20% or so. Go back, and it might look a little more natural. Yep, I think that would do it. Again, I'd throw a vignette on top of it and call this picture done.